Okay, guys, welcome to our very first recorded lesson together. Get your giggles out now at laughing at my funny voice on here. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about two early river valley civilizations. We're going to start with Egypt, which is in northern Africa along the Nile River, and then we're going to move all the way over to the far east in the Huanghe River Valley in China. Okay, so as a general rule of thumb, as just a suggestion to you, everything that you see in red, you need to be writing down in your notebooks. Okay, so to make sure that you're ready to record and to write these notes down, make sure that at the top of your notebooks it says Egypt and China. Okay, now don't forget that you need to be pausing this video. Okay, so it's not going to take you the length of this video to do this. It's going to take you longer because you're going to need to pause, write down what's in red, and then listen to everything else that I have to say. Okay? All right, let's learn about Egypt and China. Oh, yeah, you like that graphic? Boom, boom. Here we go. Okay, so Egypt was one of the early river valley civilizations. Ancient Egypt develops around the Nile River, which is in Africa. There is the Upper Egypt part of Egypt and the Lower Egypt. Okay, now you might be confused because the Lower Egypt is to the north and Upper Egypt is to the south. The reason for that is because the Nile River actually starts right here and it travels north. And it ends here at the delta where it dumps into the Mediterranean River, or the Mediterranean Sea, excuse me. Okay, so even though you would think that this is the upper, it is the lower because it's actually the southern part of this river. Egypt is famous because of its pyramids. Pyramids were tombs for Egyptian pharaohs. Their mummified bodies are buried there. So what would happen is the ruler would say, I want this giant building to be built in my honor for when I die. Now, a lot of people tried to rob or to steal out of these pyramids because it was an Egyptian belief that if you should be buried with everything that you wanted to take to the afterlife with you when you died. So these rich men and women would be buried with all of their prized possessions, gold, jewels, money, animals, all of these things would be buried there. Okay, now if you think about this, it's kind of amazing that these buildings can even be built. Okay, so look, these are people right here, and you can see how big this structure really is. Now, if we were going to do this today, we would have cranes, we would have computers, we would have machinery, we would have trucks. Okay, they didn't have any of that. Okay, they made this building so sturdy and so well that it's still standing thousands of years later. Normally when you lay bricks, right, if you can think of like a brick wall, you have all of the bricks and then you have glue or mortar holding everything together. They didn't have that. They engineered it so well that they didn't need it during this time. Egypt was ruled by pharaohs. The Egyptian people thought that their pharaohs were living gods. Okay, so the pharaoh is like the king. Egypt was a theocracy, but the part I want you to know is that the pharaoh is both in charge of politics, so that they're the political leader and the religious leader of Egypt. The structure of society in ancient Egypt was like a pyramid. The pharaoh was at the top. The slaves are at the bottom. Okay? That shows you what types of people were valued in their society. Okay, in our society in the United States, we might put athletes or movie stars or rappers at the top of that. Okay, it's going to be, class systems are going to be something that we're going to talk about when I get back. Okay, but just know that this is kind of gives you a look on who was important and who wasn't. Egyptians invented a different form of writing called hieroglyphics. Every picture represents an idea. Later, the pictures represented sounds. Like a picture of an owl would be the M sound. Okay, don't get into this. Just know that Egyptians wrote with hieroglyphics, and this is what they look like. And this is what they look like. They wrote on papyrus, which is a type of plant used to make paper. So they would turn that plant in very, very thin, dry it out, and then they had paper. That's where the word paper comes from papyrus. Ancient Egypt was a polytheistic society. Polytheism means they believed in many different gods. This is a word we will talk about a lot all year long. Okay, if you are polytheistic, you believe in more than one God. Okay, and the reason for this was because they couldn't explain why different things happened. So they thought that the gods were in charge of it, right? So if we don't understand why the sun rises every day, well, it might be because the sun god told it to. If we need it to rain, we might pray to the rain god. If we're sailing in our boat, we might pray to the god of the sea that we have a good journey. Okay? So you need to know that polytheism means belief in more than one God. So examples of religions that we'll talk about are Hinduism. We'll talk about Greek mythology, Roman mythology. All of these ancient religions mostly use polytheism because it was a way to explain the world around them. Now, the opposite of that is monotheism. And monotheism is belief in one God. Examples of this would be Judaism, Christianity, Islam, okay? Beliefs with only one God. Okay, now we're going to move into China, okay? We're going to go east into Asia, into China. China was another early river valley civilization, and they're going to develop around the Huanghe River. Okay, we call it the Yellow River today, but in this class, we're going to call it the Huanghe River. Okay, and you can see it right here. Now remember, all these early places needed to form around rivers because this is what we need for survival, right? You need water to drink. You need it to cook with. You need it to clean with. You need it to give to your animals. You need it to water your crops and your vegetables and your plants that you're growing. It also has good fertile soil. All right, Chinese settlements became cities, and these cities developed into dynasties. A dynasty is when a family of rulers, right, people who are in control of the country, and they're going to be in control for a long time. Okay, what this map is showing you are all of these different dynasties that control these different areas. They're all going to start fighting with each other, and the Qin dynasty, the one that you see in blue, is going to win. And then they're going to form a place that we now called China, okay? And it's all going to be because of this crazy, crazy man right here, okay? His name is Qin Shi Huangdi, and he is absolutely insane, and we'll talk about him when I get back. The mandate of heaven. You must know that the mandate of heaven goes with China. You have to know it, okay? It is the belief that the gods put the ruling family in power. So basically, whoever held power had the right to do so. The gods in the heavens said, you are in control, okay? And they do this, and it gives them the absolute power to rule the land and the people. And they do this as a way to keep themselves in power. Because if you believe in the mandate of heaven, then you might say, well, I don't like what this ruler is doing. But if you say you don't like what that ruler is doing, that means, that you don't like what God is doing because God told us to put this person in power. Okay, so it's a way to control everybody. Sometimes the rulers would not be successful, lose the heavens' power, and therefore lose control of the country. And a new dynasty would start. So let's look at that. Okay, so this is the dynastic cycle. So we'll start here with the mandate of heaven. The people believe the new dynasty has the God's approval. Okay? Then the dynasty's power grows weaker. Disasters such as floods, famines, invasions can occur. The people believe the dynasty has lost the god's approval, the dynasty is overthrown, and the new dynasty restores peace and order. Okay, and this would go on and on and on for hundreds of years. There was a constant cycle of change in power. Dynasties lose some of their power, and the people lose their faith in the ruler. The dynasty ends and a new dynasty begins. Now, in ancient China, the writing system that they used were characters that represented ideas, not sounds. So if you think of our alphabet, A, B, C, D, those are symbols that represent sounds, right? A makes A, B makes B, C makes K, okay? They're sounds. These are representing ideas, okay? It is said that even if you spoke a different language, you could read Chinese characters. Guys, I speak a different language. I can't figure it out. Good luck. And finally, they used oracle bones to communicate with the gods. So they would write their message on the back of these turtle shells and animal bones and offer them up to the gods. Okay? So this is a little preview of Egypt and China that we're going to be talking about when I return. Okay? What I want you to do now is in the comments below, there is a link to Quizlet. For the rest of the time, I want you practicing some of these terms that we have talked about in these vocabularies on Quizlet. Okay? At 1:55, you may begin to put the tablets away. Make sure that they are plugged in and you put them away nicely. I hope you're doing well. I miss you already. Goodbye.